guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is way overdue, and I just want to apologize in advance for everyone that's been asking me to film this video for literally months. We're finally doing it. I finally sat down, and today I'm going to be sharing with you all how I edit my Instagram photos. So if you are not already following me on Instagram, you can go find me at the Vintage Vision on Instagram if you want to go check out my photos and give me a little follow. So let's start at the beginning. What do I take my Instagram photos with? At the moment I have one of my friends who is really kindly helping me shoot my Instagram photos. Now I believe she shoots on a Canon 5D and we use a 24 to 70mm lens. That's what I shoot the majority of my Instagram photos on at the moment. However, I have used iPhone a lot in the past, and I still will use iPhone sometimes. I really like the photos that you can take on the iPhone. I just use an iPhone 7. And I also sometimes use my vlogging camera, which is a Canon G7X Mark II. This also takes really lovely photos as well. The key to getting the perfect Instagram photos is, you've probably heard it all before, but take a lot of photos. There is no way that anyone gets the perfect shot in just one take. It's just not realistic. Anyone that does Instagram know that you'll scroll through your camera reel and there'll just be so many photos that you've taken. It's great to take them on an iPhone because you can literally just keep pressing the shutter, and it will just take loads of different shots and usually get a really nice kind of candid photo amongst those. A little bit harder if you're shooting on a DSLR, a little bit slower, but you know, you kind of have to pose a bit more slowly, but take a lot of photos is the key thing to getting a good shot. Okay, so there are a few different things that I do in the process to uploading my Instagram photos. Now, once I have the shot that I want, usually the first place that I will go to is Lightroom. So I'm just going to be showing you how I edit my photos today, take you through a few different apps that I use, and yeah, show you the editing process. So I'm really excited to finally share with you guys. This is way overdue. So let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, Lightroom is my go-to for color correcting and color grading my photos. Now, the awesome thing about Lightroom Mobile is that it is free. The app is free. You don't have to pay for a Lightroom subscription. So a great way to start editing your photos, if you're kind of new to Lightroom, is on your mobile. These are my Lightroom albums. Now, what I like to do is every time I go to a new country, I create a new album. So it's just an easier way for me to store my photos, just as you would on like a computer. I like to categorize them by album on my Lightroom app, and that just keeps everything a little bit more organized. So today we're going to go into the Instagram folder, and I am going to pick out one of my Instagram photos. This is a lovely one that me and my friend took at Marina Bay in Singapore. So the first thing I do, as you can see, this photo is a little bit underexposed. Now, we do like to take them slightly underexposed because once you edit them, the colors really seem to pop more. So we're going to go in here onto light. Now, here is where you can play around with the exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows. Now, first of all, we can see that this photo, because it's underexposed, it needs to be brightened up a bit. So I am just going to lighten up that photo probably to about there. Okay, so we've brightened that up slightly. Honestly, I don't have, sometimes I create presets. So if I've created presets for certain countries, I will just copy and paste them on my Lightroom photo. But for the most part, I'll just go in and I'm just playing around with whatever I think looks best. We're gonna bring the contrast up a little bit as well. Highlights you wanna play around with. You can see that it makes the clouds a little bit brighter. So I don't necessarily want to do that. I'll probably put that on 19. Shadows is a good one because, as you can see if you lower the shadows, the more clarity you get from the photo. So I'm going to lower that slightly. Whites will always make the whites whiter. Again, that's the cloud, so I don't necessarily want to make the clouds super white because it will take away from them looking like clouds. Otherwise it would just look like a really white sky. So that is probably what I do for light. Now we're going to go into color, and this is the fun part. So temperature, I will always usually make the temperature warmer. So this top one is going to make the temperature a little bit more yellowy. So I'm probably going to leave that around a +7, but it might change later. Vibrance is going to really whack up that vibrance. I don't really like that so much. So I'm going to keep that lower. Now saturation is something that I always change. So I will always go in and slightly lower the saturation. As you can see, if you up the saturation, it's not pretty. So I always undersaturate it slightly. So we're going to go in at a -6. Now if you press mix here at the top, this is where you can play around with all the different colours individually. So you can see that I'm wearing an orange dress here, so I'm going to go into the oranges. I'm usually going to undersaturate that as well because, again, I don't want the orange dress to be too bright, so undersaturate that slightly. Luminance, sometimes I like to bring that up. I'm going to leave that probably about an 8. And hue here is you can literally change the colour of the dress, so I want to keep it as it was, so a 0. Also, saturation is a good one to play around with if you want to change the colour of your skin, if you want to make it a little bit more tan. So if I go lower with the luminance and higher with the saturation, you can see there that I've got more of a tan. So if you like to look a bit more tanned in your photos, this is a bit of a cheeky little hack to do that. Actually, I'm probably going to leave it at that because I want to look a little bit tanned. I love a tan. I'm going to go into greens because I have a weird thing with the greens in my photos. I like them to be a certain shade of green. I don't like this really garish kind of bright green. So I always lower the saturation in green, and I always lower the hue as well. So you can see as it gets lower, the greenery gets a little bit more yellowy. If I push it up, it becomes this really bright kind of dark green, but I don't want it to be that green, so I'm going to lower the saturation, and then I'm probably going to raise the luminance on that as well. Now if I go into yellows, the yellows is also going to affect the colour of my greenery. So you can see here, as I raise the saturation in the yellows, it makes the greenery very yellow. If I lower the saturation, it makes it this really, really gorgeous dark green. This is the kind of colour that I like my greenery to be. I think it's a lot more subtle, and I think it's like more aesthetically pleasing. So that is the kind of green that I like to go for. Again, you can play around with the luminance here in the green. It's quite nice there, so I'll probably leave it at that. Now, when it comes to the sky and water, you have to go into your blues. So I usually go into this dark blue colour first, and I'll play around with the hues. This really just takes some playing around. You kind of can mess around with the luminance and the saturation, just see how you like your blues to be. I'm going to go into the light blue here. It might not affect the sky so much. You can see that it's not affecting it so much. In this case, there isn't much blue to play around with this time because we didn't pick up much of the blue in the sky or in the water. Once you are finished, I mean, I pretty much like this edit as it is. You can also go into pinks if I wanted to play around with the colors of the flower buds there. You can't see too much detail in that, but yeah, if you wanted to play around with that. So that is a very quick edit. That's usually what I would do to color correct. Then I go into crop here. Always make sure you straighten your photos. Always make sure that the horizon is straight. So that is what I like to do. Straighten that up a little bit more. They have these grids to help you as well, so you can straighten it up. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I really like this edit, so let me just hold this down. I'll give you a little before and after. So that is before and that is after the edit. So I'm really happy with that. I think it looks really, really nice. This usually takes me just a few minutes to play around like I showed you. The more often you do it, it just becomes a very quick process. Okay, so I'm going to go up here and press save to camera roll, and that has now saved my photo. So the next thing I do is I go into photo stuff and I go to VSCO cam. This is where I like to resize my photos. Oh, there's a cheeky selfie there, okay. Okay, so here's my photo. I'm going to press this adjustment tool, and sometimes I will add a filter onto the photo I just edited. Now I know that's kind of weird, but sometimes VSCO adds a really nice kind of filter on top of what I already edited in Lightroom. So you can see there, if you go to A6, I quite like that edit. So this is the one I just made in Lightroom, and this is with the VSCO filter on top. So you can always add another edit on top if you wish. Just make sure it doesn't look too unnatural. I would say that my favorites are HB2, HB1 and A6. Those three are usually my favorites. So let's just do it in this instance because I'm doing a demonstration. So okay, press save. And for resizing, I'm going to go back into adjustments. I'm going to press adjust, and I'm going to select the 4:5 ratio. This is usually the correct sizing for Instagram, so this is what I like to use. Unfortunately, this time it's cutting off quite a large chunk of my body, which is annoying, but sometimes that happens. But if I want it to fit Instagram, I'm going to have to make sure it's a 4:5. You could upload it this size, but it would just look kind of strange because it's much longer than usual Instagram photos. So I'm going to click 4:5, save. Now there is another app that I use to organize my Instagram feed, and it is, I think it's it must be called UNUM, I don't know. This is the app that I use to kind of plan out my Instagram feed. Now obviously if you're just you know, a regular person, Instagram isn't a big deal to you, you don't need to do this. But because I am actively trying to grow my Instagram at the moment, you know that my YouTube is my main channel, but I'm trying to grow my Instagram a little bit more and take it a bit more seriously this year. So I like to plan out my feed if I can. So I go to this app here. So in this instance, I'm going to select the grid, press plus, and add in that photo that we've just edited. So I can just play around with it, put it where I think it might want to be positioned, where I think the colours might look good, and then you can kind of plan your post for the next few days. So it's really, really handy, and it keeps you a lot more organised. You can also schedule the posting and get the app to notify you when it's time to upload. So it's a really, really handy app. I really, really like it. You can also upload your Instagram straight from the app. So if I click on the photo, press upload, and then post to Instagram, and it will take me straight to Instagram, ready to post and add my caption. So yeah, that is pretty much how I edit my Instagram photos. I really hope that you guys found this video useful. Like I said, I love editing photos. It's one of my favorite things to do. When it comes to touching up my face or editing anything like that, I really don't touch it. I'm just very much into color correcting, so I don't do any face tuning or things like that. I don't even know how to do that. But yeah, I really hope that this video was helpful. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if it was helpful. Comment down below and give me some feedback. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you want to go give me a follow on Instagram, I'd be very, very grateful. Yeah, you can find me at The Vintage Vision. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.